Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Connection with the Weekly Comic Book Roundup. We've covered this week's Marvel books already. Now it's on to the distinguished competition. That's right, this week's DC books. Kicking things off, we've got Batman Urban Legends number 5. So, for those who somehow missed the past 4 videos in which I've covered Urban Legends. Batman Urban Legends is an anthology book focusing on Batman and related characters. There are currently two arcs, two stories which have been running since the first issue. One is Cheer, featuring the Red Hood and Batman. The other is The Long Con, starring Grifter. Where we left off in Cheer, Batman and Red Hood had actually been outfoxed by Mr. Freeze and the mastermind behind creating Cheer Drops. A villain who calls himself simply Cheer. Anyway, but yeah, Batman is captured by Mr. Freeze, and the henchmen are about to kill Red Hood, but instead, Cheer and Freeze make their escape, taking Batman with them. Jason has a flashback to an early adventure of his with Batman, where the Riddler kidnapped Batman and left a riddle. The riddle being, out of all of Batman's enemies, one secretly harbors a part of another. The key is a secret. The lock is its heart. The lock is its harbor. The basic idea being that Batman is in a tank filled with water, and there are 5 keys. One labeled Penguin, one Catwoman, one Riddler, one Two-Face, one Joker, and there's a corresponding lock for each one. So during the day, Robin goes to make amends to the former assistant of Jonathan Crane's from earlier in the story arc, whom he had been a little confrontational towards, and he starts actually putting some of Batman's training to use. There's a husband, but only one toothbrush. Lots of antidepressants, though. Turns out her husband is also a chemist, as is she. But back with Batman, he's at Cheer's and Mr. Freeze's lair, and turns out that Mr. Freeze is on Cheer Drops, hallucinating his wife Nora during happier times. But Cheer is explaining, yes, Cheer is the husband of the chemist. Took the fear toxin formula and improved upon it. And now he's working on a specialized version, something that would make Batman truly, something specifically for Batman. Basically, make Batman truly happy. In Jason's flashback, he figures it out. The Two-Face key works on the Catwoman lock because the letters TWO are, because Catwoman contains the letters TWO in that order, as does Two-Face. Harbors a part of another. Fun little Riddler riddle. But in the present, Jason goes to investigate the workplace of the husband. Turns out that the university gets ordered, and what Jason figures is that Cheer is using his wife's credentials to get them delivered. And it turns out there had been some delivered off campus. But Cheer has a plan to force Batman to experience his specialized cheer drops by putting him in a gas mask and putting the gas mask on Batman. And that is where that chapter ends. Next up, we've got Wild Card starring the Batgirls. They've they're paying a visit to what used to be Wayne Manor, where they were playing a fighting game. Stephanie beat Cassie, but Oracle gets on to and they explain that they're not breaking in, and they're house sitting until Bruce gets the mansion back. But because she's got a case that there's a cold case they can be looking into, the red card case. So they do some digging. The old VR gaming championship. Turns out one of the consoles is still powered. They find someone investigating. Spoiler fights. Spoiler goes to fight the villain, but it turns out she's identified as being Yang Liang. Or, not Yang Liang, but it turns out that one of the victims was someone named Yang Liang. Gifted programmer. 5 years ago, he used the visa to attend the gaming championship. Prior to the corporation for which he developed untold amounts of software, including quite a few data tracking programs slipped undetectably into any mobile devices that downloaded his games. Planning to defect once he reached American soil, and the American conglomerate promised him protection. However, his betrayal was discovered. And so basically they found a crime. Turns out the girl wasn't trying to hide a crime scene, but expose one. And it turns out she's trying to expose crime scenes for the Bat family. Basically things they may have missed. But similar calling card is to the one Oracle discovered a while back. A red card that, when picked up, burst into flames. Our next story is continuing the Tim Drake some of our parts story from which started last month. First part, a friend of Tim's was kidnapped by the Chaos Monster. This friend of Tim's is not the first teenager in Gotham to be kidnapped by the Chaos Monster. So, Tim has been doing some investigating, asking questions. So have the GCPD. His investigation leads him to a pain cult in Gotham called the Cult of Dionysus. But Robin breaks into the car of one of the officers investigating, Detective Williams. Turns out he keeps his notes handwritten, so not in the computers. The two of them compare some notes. Tim is which leads to Tim going through the interview for the Cult of Dionysus and the final test where he's left alone on the roof when the Chaos Monster shows up. But Tim realizes that each of these kidnappings has had different MOs. It's because there's not one Chaos Monster. Each Chaos Monster is a completely different cult member. And finally, we give the conclusion of the long con, which begins with where we left off. In the past, Leviathan had hired Cole Cash to kill Lucius Fox. So, and we get his attempt at doing so, which was actually an attempt to get close to Fox. In the present, Cole's been fired from his job of protecting Lucius Fox and promptly ejected from Wayne Enterprises. He goes to Leviathan, makes them an offer. They break into Wayne Enterprises, kill a few people, which is not the plan that Grifter had, outlined. So the whole thing is to get back in there because for reasons. But he ends up out of the building. Nightwing and Batman find him, and so Nightwing, Batman, and Grifter team up to get back inside the building. However, Grifter has conned them, and he locks them out of the building for a moment. Finds Lucius, tells him what's going on, explains what's going on. Basically, he was assigned to an infiltrate Leviathan who wanted Fox dead because he turned them down. Turns out that there's a computer they want in the building. It's a backup for the Bat computer. And Lucius can delete everything from there, as he's pretty sure that Batman has backups of everything on there. But before he can do that, Cole has all of it downloaded to a remote location. Leviathan's thugs come in, and, well, Cole gets backup. The Wildcats. New takes on some of the characters and some familiar takes. The astronaut-looking one I'm presuming is Void. She was a cosmonaut, after all. The Terminator endoskeleton is most likely a Spartan. Also got Deathblow, looks like Fairchild, Ladytron, and I don't know who the other one is. But the cats take on Leviathan thugs, save the day, teleport out, just as Nightwing and Batman show up to ask what happened. And the tagline at the bottom of the last page says, "The Wildcats will return." And you can bet that when they do, they're going to be a part of the roundup. Cheer and Long Con are going great. Some of the parts is also going well, especially with the things I neglected to mention with kind of Tim Drake wondering just if he's not Robin, who is he? The Batgirl's story was also really good. Should be interesting to see. I get the feeling that a lot of the one-shot arcs in Urban Legends are going to be spinning out into additional stories eventually. It's kind of been a running theme, which is nice actually. It's quite nice. But yeah, so far, the end of the long con. Oh, Wildcats are back. And we move on to our next book. We've got Detective number 1039. Where we left off, there were Gotham was burning once again, as Old Man Worth was attempting to kill Batman and Bruce Wayne. Well, anyhow, you could really just do one. You could just pick one or the other. Though Batman was being aided by Huntress, and they had rescued Deb Donovan, who had been brought down there by Hugh Vile, an associate of the mayor's, who's a bit more than he seems. But we get a little bit of Hugh's history. We'll go into that later. There's actually a backup story that details it. So, but he's got some control over Deb Donovan, and she stabs Batman with a shard of glass. While bleeding, Batman takes on Worth, but as we saw in the backup story in the last issue's backup, Worth got Worth called in some help. The Penguins minions. But Huntress finds Hugh Vile, tries to take him in, but the parasite within him goes after her and infects her. Worth is at least briefly taken down, though Batman has to deal with Huntress. Vile is, when all is said and done, Vile is missing, and quite a few Gotham's burning, and a lot of the gangs are taking advantage of this. Huntress and Dead Donovan are in the hospital, and Batman decides that he's going to turn himself in. Bruce Wayne is going to turn himself in. Our backup story is the life and times of Hugh Vile. Turns out he was born in Gotham. The parasite within him feeds off of violence. So, and he infected his mother. Mother killed his brother. Went to Keystone City, and there, he picked his victims. He picked his victims in ways that made sense. Described a building superintendent with a history of violence going over the edge. Person in the office who gets too angry at every little thing. The guy who drinks too much and who everyone in the building knows beats on his family, or local hood turning on his own gang. Eventually, he made his way back to Gotham, though, and wormed his way into the mayor's advisory board. And that is where the issue ends. The A story was good. I kind of dug the B story. It's interesting. Vile is definitely proving to be an interesting villain. It's going to be, hopefully, Huntress will recover quickly. As I honestly enjoyed her in these last few issues, and I was a little perturbed to see her get sidelined at the end of the story. So, yeah. Next up, we've got Batman, the Detective, number 4. Where we left off, Bruce Wayne had been arrested by Interpol after the attempted detention for seemingly killing Henry Ducard. All this while, Batman is on the case of a group called Equilibrium, whose whole plot is to kill everyone that Batman has ever saved. So Batman is being interrogated by Interpol. Shown various pictures and asked about, alibis and whatnot, because it seems rather interesting that Bruce Wayne should show up in Europe just as all these are happening. He gets handcuffed to the table. He's starting to get a little warm, and then he realizes. And the Interpol agents who were talking to him said, when they asked him about Batman and his relationship. And it stated that Batman saved Bruce Wayne a few times. And turns out these are members of Equilibrium. And in fact, they even explained that, there was a thought that One of them even thought maybe Bruce Wayne actually was Batman, because the pictures that exist of Bruce Wayne and Batman can easily be manipulated. But Batman wouldn't drink the water. So, yeah. But Bruce slows his breathing, heartbeat, whatnot, manages to get free, discovers that Equilibrium killed an Interpol operative that Batman once saved, and so Bruce makes his way out of the building. However, Amina Squire is waiting outside for him. But gets into a pharmacy, cyanide poisoning, activated charcoal tablets, amyl nitrates, sodium nitrate, sodium thiosulfate. But he passes out. Remember, dreams of old friends, people he loved, people he pushed away, people he's lost, the dead. There are new ghosts. All the people Equilibrium has taken. All people who only died because he helped them. Comes to, it's been 2 days. Turns out that Equilibrium has been busy in the last few days. 200 dead. A number of people were killed in individual morning raids in Mons, Belgium. A building fire in Brussels. The exits were sealed. But apparently Batman has a mobile cave in Europe. It's brought to him, and the young lady who keeps track of it, Batman tells her to get her mother and get somewhere safe. So, incriminating evidence is removed, and they managed to find the person that, or one of the people, remember Equilibrium that stabbed Batman, that stabbed Bruce along the interrogation, and he activates the European Alliance of the Bat, and that is where the issue ends. Gotta say, the Detective has definitely been a fun run, and I would not mind seeing some of these elements brought in to modern Batman books. Though this is set in a different reality, as this is not Alfred in this was not murdered, but rather simply died of old age. But yeah, good book. It's gonna be a shame when it ends, but yeah. Anyway, moving on to our next one, we got Future State Gotham number 3. Where we left off, Peacemaker Red, Jason Todd, had gone into Blackgate to interrogate some of the prisoners when the new Batman showed up. The issue begins with the Resistance checking out the crater left in the shape of the bat signal. Turns out that it's the Arkham Knights who are attacking, and they're going after Astrid Arkham, claiming manipulation. But there's an explosion. Some of the guards in Blackgate are going through, and they find a dead guard. And their performance, no joke, is ever funny without a punchline. By none other than Punchline, who makes good her escape by killing another guard. But turns out the explosion was both the explosion in Blackgate and the explosion that formed the Bat were done by a new villain named Warmonger. Basically, he's trying to start a war. But he when Blackgate guards make their way into the block, they find it deserted, completely deserted. A cave. The explosion, the hole in the ground was blown out has already been filled back in. Peacemaker Red and Batman Awaken are both in a hole. And Warmonger expects them to fight each other to the death. Elsewhere, news reports add that among those who are confirmed to have escaped from Blackgate is none other than Punchline, which of course pisses off one Harley Quinn quite a bit. After all, Gotham belongs to Harley Quinn, not Punchline. And that is where the A story ends. We also have a backup which is all silent. A robber, has stolen from apparently the back of Gotham. Has stolen from the back of Gotham. Is making his way down into the alleyway. Keeps seeing the bat signal, and the signs. One says, cops pointing to the left, run to the right. So he goes, keeps it up, and then he is punched with a retractable boxing glove. Turned out that the bat signal he's been seeing is a flashlight with the bat emblem on the end, being operated by Harley. And then the real Batman shows up, and, well, yeah. That no fight or nothing, just, fun little bit. The credits for the story are Doug Alexander, setup, Rob Haynes, payoff, Mark Chiarello, heckler, Valerie D'Orazio, assistant heckler. I kind of like that, actually. But, Future State was good. The A story in Future State has been consistently good. The B story, the backup, last issue was a step down with the fact that they kind of they reused the story from a recent Batman Black and White. I'm fairly certain that the Black and White story at the end of this one was also reused, but it's at least not from a recent one. So yeah. Anyway, moving on to our next book, Infinite Frontier, number 2. Okay, where we left off. Cameron Chase had been recruited by Mr. Bones. Roy Harper discovered that he's apparently a Black Lantern, kinda. The Flash had been taken prisoner by Psycho Pirate. Yeah, fun times. So this issue largely follows Cameron Chase. She goes to talk to Superman about the events of Death Metal. Oh, Superman and Batman. But something's occurred, and so yes, they're needed elsewhere. But Bones suggests that Chase try and recruit Captain Atom to help out. Turns out throughout the multiverse, on various Earths, bits and pieces of a spaceship have been found. Seems to be that that's where Thomas Wayne had been aboard that. But he explained that he was in Arkham, recovering from injuries, in solitary reflecting. Woman teleports in, locks him up on a spaceship, but he managed to fight back and get to an escape shuttle. Next thing he knows, he woke up dressed, in his bat suit and in the House of Heroes. So they find a chunk of the ship on Earth 22, Kingdom Come Earth. And President Superman and Thomas Wayne are attacked by none other than Magog. President Superman reflects that he had reformed, and if the changes to the multiverse reverted him back to his old ways, well, President Superman has to ask, Who else has? On Earth Zero, Alan Scott, Obsidian, Mr. Terrific, and Vandal Savage are investigating the JSA Brownstone to see if, in the hopes of trying to figure out what happened to Jade. Savage is, well, Vandal Savage, though Mr. Terrific points out that a lot of the others that had returned, some of them have also vanished. Vandal Savage makes says some prickish things towards Obsidian, and Alan Scott basically tells him that if he ever said speaks of Alan's children like that again, well, Vandal will wish that he wasn't immortal. And so they go. So Alan Scott and Obsidian go off together to find Jade and kick ass. Meanwhile, Roy Harper is wondering what the deal is with his lantern ring, and so he thinks back to his days with Hal. Kind of and there was a point where Hal Jordan asked him a question. When you take a shot, who's in control, you or the bow? And so he Black Lanterns up, makes himself some construct targets, and a construct bow and arrows. Aims a little off, but and he remembers also that Hal Jordan's going to talk to him. Maybe the Black Lantern going to talk to him, so he asks, why me? And he's shown visions, Darkseid, Thomas Wayne Batman, Barry imprisoned, Psycho Pirate, Cameron Chase, his daughter Leanne, alive. He wants to know where his daughter is, wants her to tell him. All the ring will tell him is Darkseid is. And then he goes full Black Lantern, but instead of the Black Lantern symbol on his chest, it's an Omega symbol, and he stated, "Come to me, my Black Lantern." Elsewhere, Cameron Chase has her meeting with Captain Atom at Metropolis Air Force Base. Turns out he's not Captain Atom from Earth Zero. He's from elsewhere in the multiverse, and he just wants to be free. She asked where the real Captain Atom is. He says he doesn't know. And she says, hey, and apparently on Earth Zero, Cameron and Captain Atom never met. On whichever Earth Captain Atom's from, they had, and they were friends. And so she says, hey, if you turn yourself in, without a fight, maybe we can be friends too. And he tells her she doesn't really understand what's going on in the multiverse. He knows too much, and he can't let her take him in because he will find out. He'll come for him. And he tears open his containment suit and says, "Darkseid is," before destroying Metropolis Air Force Base in a mushroom cloud. It's hard to, I don't know, I feel like each of these should be one-shots or each story should be a mini-series up until a point where it can all come together as one unified story. Instead of just being all just stories that are happening at, but yeah, anyway. Otherwise, it's, if it weren't for the constant jumping around, like, okay, here's a few pages of this, here's a few of this, here's a few of that, Infinite Frontier would be a lot more enjoyable. And I really do hope that eventually the plot threads begin to converge and we actually get a, cohesive, singular plot. That said, what's going on is, at least for the most, isn't boring. some of it is, to me at least, quite interesting. And hey, I mean, Darkseid's your big bad. Can't go wrong there, right? Moving on to our next book, we got Justice League Last Ride, number 3. Where we left off, the League had reformed to take Lobo to Apocalypse to hide him from, well, to hide him while he awaits trial. The League has arrived. And they're going to keep Lobo in what is basically the summer house of Desaad. What was basically the summer house, I should say, of Desaad, Darkseid's chief torturer. They have a campfire. Jessica Cruz advises the Lanterns that some planets have left the United Planets just because, and placed a bounty on Lobo's head in the hope, because it's quite likely that they hired him and they don't want that coming out. But watch schedules are planned out. While Batman sleeps, he dreams. Walking down Crime Alley, but just him and his father. Only it's not his father. It's Martian Manhunter. He's shot by Batman. Jean says it's not Bruce's fault, nor is it Batman's fault. So he asks, whose fault is it? And Jean simply says, no, nobody's except for Darkseid. But he goes to talk to Batman about it, and he explains that he doesn't, the fact that he had a dream, and he was told something would happen, and he explains he doesn't dream unless he decides to. It can be helpful in some cases. But yeah, turns out that they're soon to be getting company. Batman, comes up with a plan, but it gets slightly shot down, and basically Wonder Woman takes the place of Wonder Woman and Superman switch places in the plan, but it still works out. On Earth, Cyborg. On Earth, the Titans basically are, keeping the fort or manning the fort. Superman talks with Lobo. No, Lobo talks and Superman just glares. Then he calls Lois. So he just wanted to hear her voice. And she tells him that, it's okay for Superman to not be fine. Everyone goes through hard times. Even Superman and Wonder Woman. And that's how and she also tells him that he's not alone. And that is where the issue ends. Solid issue. You can tell it's definitely, there's a huge part of it. It's focusing on dealing with trauma. And now for our final book of the week, Rorschach, issue 10. Where we left off, a dead body had been found at Myerson's cabin in New Mexico. And the investigator is talking to his buddy to his man in the Curly campaign. And we find out that Frank Miller was able to get some names, and he kind of said, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this," and pitched his, well, I'm writing a pirate story. A pirate somehow ends up in the present day, and he just wants to put things back the way they were, and so he thinks to kill a president during a campaign, and so talks to him. He gets a list of names is given to Meyerson: Alex Spellman, Dylan Lang, Eric Yellen, and Jonathan Oates. Oates took the bait. Everyone else either had no interest in it or thought it might be a conflict of interest. The investigator finds a picture of Oates that actually matches up with the corpse he found at the cabin. His house is a mess. He's got a safe, but nothing of note. Empty beer bottle is taken from it though. Turns out Oates was involved in the raid that took down Bin Laden. Got Medal of Honor. He had a secretary though. Secretary had been involved, had often knew what was going on, and because of her part of things, took her life. But yeah, Oates got Meyerson and the kid the VIP badge. They did explain, hey, if you appear to be, if it seems like you're someone who gets in trouble, but you're kind about it, they won't even bother to, give you a second look. Barely even give you a first one. But it turned out the secretary, she knew, called security, and yeah. But Oates took the VIP badges to Meyerson and the kid in person. But clearly something happened, which led to his death which led to him being killed at the cabin. And after he's done talking with his contact within the campaign, the investigator takes the bottle that he'd been drinking, and he plans to, clearly intending to let the prints off of it and see if they can match with the bottle he found in Oates' safe. It's definitely getting interesting. I'm still chuckling a bit at the fact that they actually turned Frank Miller into a comic book character. But yeah. Anyway, that's gonna do it for now. As always, feel free to that's gonna do it for this week. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying live long and rock hard.